Oh man, I got so much to say. Hello, everyone, guys. I'm back again with another new episode of Definitely Hustling Podcast, formerly known as the Hustle Factory Podcast Show. How is everyone doing today, guys? I hope that you guys are having an amazing day so far. I realized that by the time of me recording this right now, it's kind of already like early in the morning here in Florida. I just want to go ahead and let you guys know the reason why I said definitely housing podcast because if you guys didn't catch up, a month ago I uploaded a podcast update episode where that I did a new rebranding of this podcast. So I will go ahead and explain more about that in a few. Anyways, for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is John Limdimas and I will be host of this podcast. With this podcast, guys, I tend to cover entrepreneurial niche topics, mostly motivational rants, and from time to time, I get to do some interview episodes with variety of content creators out there. And by the way, it's been a while since I've done some interview episodes. So Jules or Lewis, if you guys are down for another interview episodes, please let me know in the comment section below, or let me try to hit you up in the DMs because it's been a while since I've hit you guys up because I feel like I've been kind of ghosting you guys, but I'm not really ghosting you guys purposely. I just been incredibly busy. So, anyways, guys, I will go ahead and make sure to add those playlists, and also I will also go ahead and create another playlist where you guys can easily rewatch the older episodes where those episodes are still known as the Hustle Factory Podcast Show under that episode, that is. And as always, if you haven't listened or watched the previous episode, which is exactly what I have mentioned earlier, you will get to know the full details on the whole rebranding of this podcast. I get to talk about my thoughts and my decisions about it. So, give it a listen and check it out, guys. It's not my usual episode, but at least it will give you an idea on what's really going on my podcast lately since a month ago. And before we get started into this episode, I just wanted to get a few things out of the way, and that is I'm still definitely going to be sticking with the episode format that I've been with since day one of this podcast. I'll try the best of my ability to make each episode between 20 to 30-ish minutes episodes. I mean, in the exception of interview episodes, that is, which usually can last between 45 to an hour or even more, just depending on what we were talking about and so on. And you know what else, guys? I'm not even 100% sure yet if I kind of want to continue this series that I've been doing since on this podcast, like, my motivational rants, hustle and chill, and so on. I'm still trying to wonder about that. I'm just figuring it out. How should I rename it, the series, and all that? So, actually, my question to all of the listeners out there is should I go ahead and continue with this series? That way, it's going to be a lot easier for everyone out there to look up the episodes that I upload monthly or vice versa. And whatever your thoughts are, please, I would really like to know more in the comments below. Or if you're listening this through the Anchor app, go ahead and send me a voice message there as well. So hit me up there. Screw it. Let's get started, anyways. In today's very first Definitely Motivational series, which is technically, it is now called Definitely Hustling Podcast, I would like to go ahead and do a very entrepreneurial rant about the things that experience and learn. So you definitely don't want to click out on this episode just yet because I simply don't want you to miss out anything valuable just yet. With this series, for instance, I would like to rename it into a new series, and from now on, they will not be called Definitely Motivational. Instead of question is your thoughts on the new name. I feel like it's much shorter and simpler to say in a sense. Or what do you think of this one instead, though? Definitely ranting. Either way, I definitely would love to know your honest opinion about it, good or bad. Bring it on here in the comments below, and do not hesitate about it, guys. And listen, guys, before we get started, if you are an absolute of a Karen or someone who's incredibly easily triggered, you got to go ahead and click out of this podcast immediately because this podcast isn't meant for you guys. No disrespect, but if you aren't, then hey, stick around for the next few minutes of episode because if you're ready to hear some valuable motivational rant, if that is the case, then don't tell me that I didn't warn you from the beginning. Anyways, to start off this episode, guys, I want to go ahead and give you some quick info what's been happening with me lately here and how is it that a lot lately I've been kind of on and off here, especially within the social media space, and not to mention podcasting wise. And that's only because since April of this year, I've started a whole new 9 to 5 job. What I meant to say is that within April of this year, I started a new job. Also within a month as well, which is around June. I was actually incredibly busy working on rebranding this podcast as well. So what I was mentioning about it, and honestly, a lot lately, I just have been incredibly very busy and occupied and going into work and hustle mode all around the places out there, doing my 9 to 5 job, doing that, doing that. I just been very busy overall. The new 9 to 5 job that I have recently gotten a few months ago was actually I ended up got hired as a housekeeper at a nursing home. Yeah, that's actually a huge shift from my previous job as a grocery stocker back in Winn-Dixie, like 7+ months ago. And I gotta say, it's really a huge culture shock for me so far. Not gonna lie. So, with today's episode, I would like to take the opportunity to share some few important things I have experienced and learned at my new 9 to 5 job. I also wanted to emphasize in today's episode that this isn't necessarily going to be the most definite things I have learned because I know there are more things that I haven't seen or learned just yet. It's just some few important things so far that I wanted to share with everyone out there. Some of them you may be already be familiar with, and some of them this isn't going to be in any particular order of some sort. It's like completely random as hell, and whatever pops in my head first, then getting on to the first point, and that is so the first one is going to be a good one, and believe me, this one is going to get you immediately. Some of you guys may already be aware of this, and some will just simply deny the fuck out of it. Proceeding now. What exactly am I talking about? You may wonder or ask. Why? That is none other than that the majority of the employees over there only do this for the money or the paycheck itself. Now, when I say employees, I'm emphasizing a lot on the CNAs and nurses out there who actually work over there. Because I gotta say, guys, I'm not really liking the vibe that I'm getting from them. And in a sense, I'm kind of getting a bad impression of them as a whole. That's just me. It's not like I'm judging them, whatever. It's just that I just have a bad feeling about them. And I do know there are some different opinions about this, but I truly believe that as an entrepreneurial minded person, this is actually a fucking terrible mindset to have in the first place. I do believe that this first point deserves on its own episode. So, what do you guys think about it? Should I make an episode entirely dedicated to this one? Let me know in the comment section below. Moving on to the next point. So, one thing I have noticed for sure when I started working over there as a housekeeping is the fact how in two shits that the majority of the CNAs and nurses get such a fucking attitude literally to everyone, even to the fucking residents who lives there. I mean, what the fuck? There are only several things I can think of out of my head when it comes to this. One, when someone is usually being an asshole or just simply being a certified bitch or a toxic person at your workplace, it usually means they really don't love their job or they simply don't give two shits about it at all, except from aside for themselves, that is. On the other hand, they probably got something going on with their lives at the very moment, and that's why, they do tend like an ass or being a bitch for no reason at work. I mean, who knows? It could be true, maybe not at all. What do you guys think? Comment down below. Listen though, if you have gotten this far of this episode so far, then that truly means you are one fucking amazing person as a whole. And not to mention, as a listener or perhaps a supporter as well, if you are loving the value that I have shared in this podcast so far, please take a quick consideration and leaving a huge thumbs up on this episode. And leave a quick comment below your thoughts about this episode so far. Let's go ahead and get this podcast on everyone's feed and spread the word about my podcast. Actually, guys, I'm about to actually wrap up this episode with this one final thing that I have learned in my new 9 to 5 job. So, yeah, let's get on to the final one then. I realized the last thing I wanted to share isn't necessarily something you learned on a 9 to 5 job. But I still believe to this day it's actually pretty important for all of us out there and actually to value it. The last thing I want to share with you guys is essentially you only have one fucking life. Not two, not three, not four, not infinity. Just one fucking life. Now, why is this important to me, or why should you even give two shits about it? Anyways, honestly, guys, let me just ask you guys this straight up question then instead. Do you honestly want to die without being able to do what you really want to do in your life? Come on now. Who in the flying fuck wants to die and not able to do so? Now, I know what you guys may be thinking. I know it sounds like a very insensitive thing to ask, but I'm being fucking real here. I'm not bullshitting anyone. I'm not joking around. Is that exactly what you guys want? I really do hope it's not. Since I am working on a nursing home environment, this one actually got me thinking about it a whole lot more because if the majority of the residents there are all old people that who can no longer be taken care of, you just got one life and you just don't want to have any regrets per se. What I'm really trying to say is this. Even if I am not talking about this in the context of what you think it is, can we at least agree for the love of God that all we really wanted to do in our lives is pursuing something what we are very passionate about. Is that exactly what you want at the end of the day? Having huge regret at the very end? I mean, am I wrong about saying this at all? Am I being too idealistic or unrealistic on what I am saying then? You know what? Maybe I am being one, but guess what? Whether you think I am or not, at the end of the day, you know very well what I am saying isn't some half baked bullshit rank. This is for real. Matter of fact, speaking of one life and regret, I did actually uploaded an episode exactly about this a year ago. It's actually a pretty good episode that I did, and I definitely would recommend you guys listen or watch that episode. And I will go ahead and also make sure to add that link of that episode below, or you can simply click the card above if you're watching it through YouTube. For me to finally wrap up this episode, let me just say some few important things to keep in mind. First of all, I totally understand why most of us have a 9 to 5 job that we all hate with such a burning passion. In the end, we just ended up sucking it up anyways because it pays a lot or it actually covers the bills. Honestly, guys, you should never have that mentality at all because in the end, all you're really doing is you're just harming yourself mentally and it's gonna make you have a huge burnout at the end. Is that what you want? I don't think so, guys. And honestly, guys, if someone out there you know at work is just being a straight up asshole or being incredibly toxic person as a whole, maybe it's just best to either avoid them as much as you can or you could simply just find a way to get to know that person because for the most part, maybe that person is just having a rough time and sometimes they just need someone to talk to. You know, for the most part, it could work. For the most part, it wouldn't. Lastly, I know there are certain circumstances in our lives that prevents us to pursue what we really wanted to do in our life. But, you know, like what I have always said in this podcast before, if you truly wanted to pursue something that you are very passionate about, then all you got to do is go for it. Just fucking do it. Stop making excuses and whining about how you don't have the necessary things you'll be able to do it. I mean, that may be true. It could be. I mean, that's why you got to get your bitch ass up and get to work. Get to hustling and grind the hell out of that. That's it. I mean, who the fuck says it's going to be easy anyways? I mean, it's not supposed to be easy because otherwise, the whole thing of you grinding the hell out of that is just completely fucking meaningless. Anyways, thank you for everyone for listening and watching this episode right now. You guys can actually go ahead and watch the rest of the Definitely Motivational series playlist on the top card above or in the description below. And like I said before, I will go ahead and make sure I will get all of those playlists updated to the right name of this podcast now, which is now Definitely Hustlin Podcast. Other than that, guys, aside from YouTube, you guys can also listen to this podcast on other platforms as well of your choosing. If you're listening to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, whatever the hell you're listening to, I'm live in there. Or if you're actually listening to Anchor, that will be even more amazing. And speaking of Anchor, if you are listening to this on Anchor and you happen to find this episode pretty amazing and valuable, you can actually easily support us out there on the podcast by hitting me up on the Anchor page. And if you're feeling generous about it, you can drop a quick donation about it, and it would actually mean the world to me. Any amount will do. I'm not begging or whatsoever, completely optional. Make sure you guys are checking us out on our socials, and I already updated our social handles out there on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, you name it. I believe it's now called The Hustling Podcast, but I will go ahead and drop it down, everything on the description below as well. I just wanted to say one more thing, that I do hope that you guys are having an amazing month so far. Just remember one thing, that you guys can definitely crush it this year and never give up on your hustle. Other than that, guys, I will see you guys later. Keep up the hustle, grinding alive. John Limdimas signing out.